Thank you very much. So first of all, I would like to thank Professor Duncan Tumbrich and Professor Paul Math for inviting me today. And I will start this talk by being a bit arrogant, but as you can hear, I'm French, so I can play with a stereotype here. I'm the course leader of the BSc on Psychology of Fashion, as Paul said, which is the first and only undergrad course in the world that teach psychology, applied psychology to fashion. And I'm also the acting course leader of the MSc Applied Psychology to Fashion, which again, the only and unique postgrad course that teach applied psychology to fashion to students. So that was my part where I was a bit pretentious. But now, I will move to the talk and I will actually give you a snapshot of how we want to study applied psychology to fashion and how we, staff and students, want to push the boundary of psychology, push the boundary in fashion. And I will talk about the psychology impacts, the psychological perspective of this second skin. Why and what is the impact on the makeup and the clothes we put on our first skin? And I will do that from a well-being perspective and from a cognitive performance perspective. And I will answer the two following questions. Are we happier covering our first skin with makeup and clothes? Are we cognitively better covering our first skin with makeup and clothes? The answer on one of these questions is yes. So let's start with the basic. What do we women use makeup? And I'm sorry, gentlemen, I won't mention you for the makeup slides, even if the marketing figures show that more and more men are using cosmetic and makeup. Research to date have only focused on women. So why do we women wear makeup? Well, first of all, to cope with the anxiety of facial appearance, to conform with social norms, to enhance our public self-consciousness, and to appear more sociable and assertive to others, to cope with anxiety, to fit with our group, our social group. The question of why do we wear makeup is quite well understood today with research. And there's another topic, another concept that is quite well understood in research is the perception of others, of people who wear makeup, of women who wear makeup. So when we wear makeup, how are we perceived by others? So research has shown that women who wear makeup are perceived as being more healthy, being healthier, earning more money. Research also showed that women who wear makeup are perceived as having a greater competence, likability, and trustworthiness. And women who wear makeup are perceived as being more prestigious and more dominant. And for far my favorite, research has shown that men tip higher amounts and with greater frequency to waitress who are wearing makeup. These outcomes are all linked with the physical, facial attractiveness. And it's linked with a concept that is called in psychology the halo effect. The more we perceive the person as being physically attractive, the more we'll allocate to this person more positive personal attribution. The more we perceive the person as being physically attractive, the more we'll perceive this person as being healthier, more dominant, more prestigious, happier, more willing to do the job, more competent at his or her job. Research has shown that. So today, we understand why women wear makeup, how they are perceived by others. But what I will talk about today, and my main question is, are we really happier wearing makeup? Are we really better at our job, covering our first skin with makeup and with clothes? And by digging into this concept, I read a lot of research and some marketing figures as well. And there's one marketing figure that really struck me. During the economic recession, the Great Recession, between 2007 and 2009, obviously, the spending on most consumer products declined. We're in the middle of the economic recession. People are buying less, except for cosmetic, in particular for makeup. Even in the middle of the economic recession, women are buying more makeup. For instance, L'Oreal in 2008, in the middle of the Great Recession period, increased its sales by 5%. Why? And some researchers tried to better understand what we called, journalists and then scientists call the lipstick effect. The fact that we're buying more makeup, even if we're in the middle of the Great Recession, the economic recession. And one researcher in particular tried to better understand this lipstick effect. And she carried out experiment with almost 300 women. And she found out something that can sound a bit basic, but she found out women were putting on some makeup in difficult situations because they were looking to feel happier, regardless of the romantic relationship. And because they were looking to feel more confident in their personal lives. And other researchers, Hill and his team in 2010, suggested that makeup was used as a compensation strategy. We were looking to feel happier, to feel more confident. But my question today is it what is actually happening? Are we feeling happier putting some lipstick? Are we feeling happier putting a nice dress? Happiness is, when we want to assess happiness in psychology, we talk about subjective well-being, which is defined of affective and cognitive dimension characterized by high positive affects. Happiness is one of these affects, so positive moods, positive affects. And when you look at the literature, when you look at the research that have been done in this area, trying to link the makeup usage and well-being, happiness in particular, there are some research in the 70s, 80s, 90s that shows a relationship between the use of the physical attractiveness and subjective well-being, underlying that the more we are physically attractive, the better looking we are, the happier we may be. You can see the relationship is really small. There is a relationship between our physical appearance and well-being, but until the 90s, the research has shown that this relationship was really small. And one researcher and his team, Dino, in 1995, did a really great research trying to really understand the relationship between physical attractiveness and subjective well-being, in particular with the use of makeup. And what they found, they confirmed the statement between physical attractiveness and the subjective well-being, a small relationship. There is a relationship between our physical attractiveness and our happiness, subjective well-being, but it's small. But interestingly, they show that the highest correlation was between physical attractiveness and subjective well-being was for the group that was enhancing their appearance with makeup, with jewelries, with clothing, with hairstyle. So they suggested that happy people do more to enhance the appearance. This is the conclusion of their research. So we can think, okay, so the more we do to enhance our appearance, the happier we will be. The issue here is that even if it's the highest correlation, the correlation here is still small. So today, we don't know the relationship. We cannot say for sure that putting on some makeup we will feel happier, we'll feel better. We don't know today. What about self-esteem then? There's nothing about confidence, but what about self-esteem? Do we have a higher self-esteem putting on some makeup? Is this compensation strategy working? In psychology, we define self-esteem as the individual sense of our own value of worth. So when you go to the literature, there's only one research that tried to answer that question: is there a relationship between self-esteem and our makeup usage? These researchers found out that participants with lower self-esteem were likely to be wearing more makeup. However, they didn't find any correlation between the social self-esteem and the use of makeup. The issue here is a start of opening a door, but they tested only 32 participants. So we need more work. We need to test more participants to be sure that there is no relationship, or there is the people who have a lower self-esteem are more likely to wear more makeup, which will fit with the compensation strategy that I mentioned before. So the relationship between well-being, self-esteem, and makeup is not clearly understood today. What about clothes? And I'm sure you're thinking, of course, when I go to a job interview, I put my lucky dress, or I put my lucky suit, or same for first date, I've got some clothes that enhance my confidence, and I feel happier wearing that dress. Well, research are barely touched based on this topic, in particular for self-esteem. To date, research didn't tackle this question. Today, no researchers try to understand very clearly, controlling all the variables, the relationship between wearing some clothes and our self-esteem. What about well-being? Well, there's a very interesting and very groundbreaking article that has been published a couple of years ago that study, using qualitative methods, 10 women. And they follow the journey of these 10 women with their clothing practice. What these two researchers found out is that clothing practice, our clothing choice, is changed according to our mood. We use our clothing practice to enhance our positive moods or to decrease our negative moods. And when they also suggested is that clothing practice can have a profound impact, a huge impact on our body, our self-hood, our mood, and consequently, individual well-being. Consequently, they didn't directly measure it, but according to the result with the relationship between the clothing practice and the mood, they suggested that we may have a relationship between well-being and clothing practice. Again, it's a brilliant article, but they use qualitative methods with 10 participants. So we need more time. We need to quantify this relationship. So, to the question, are covering our second skin, our first skin with the second skin being makeup or clothes, does this cover of the first skin make us happier? We don't know for sure today. We need more time, we need more research to better understand this relationship between makeup usage, well-being, self-esteem, between the clothes we choose and our self-esteem, confidence, well-being. But there is a second question that I did want to answer today. Are we performing better with makeup and clothes? And I will first focus on makeup. Are we performing better with a bit of lipstick? There's one research that I've been publishing last year that is groundbreaking. So these researchers recruited almost 200 participants, female participants. They asked these participants to do a first test, coming without any makeup. During the first test, the participants were required to raise their mood, rate how beautiful they felt, and to read a chapter of a general psychology book, knowing that they will be tested later on that reading. This was the first test. Then, based on really controlled setup, the researchers split this cohort into 3 different groups and asked these 3 groups to come for a second test. The first group, coming with no makeup, were required to put some makeup on as if they were going out. The second group were required to listen to a music that have been proven to induce positive mood. The third group were asked to color a face, a draw of a face with a color pencil as if they were using cosmetic. This lasted 15 minutes per group, and at the end, they were asked to rate how beautiful they felt, their mood, and do a small test on the reading they did during the first test. The makeup student had higher beauty score. The female participants who wore some makeup felt more beautiful. The music student, as expected, the group who were listening to music, had positive mood, but what wasn't expected is that the people who wore makeup had as well higher positive moods. And what is really intriguing is that the female participant who wore some makeup, the first group, scored higher in the test. Is it the same with clothes? Are we performing better with clothes? there is a very famous research done by Adam and Ganiski in 2012. And they figured out, they designed a new concept called unclosed cognition. They recruited 48 participants, split these participants in 2 groups. One group was wearing a lab coat, one group was not wearing a lab coat. And they asked a very basic, what we call attentional task, called Stroop task. The task is quite easy. Oh, well, basic but not that easy. In one phase, you need to name the color of the word. You can see red, yellow, blue. This is what we call congruent trial. But then, second phase, you need to name the color of the word. Blue, red, green. As you can see, it's a bit more difficult. The results for the congruent trial, the easy phase, there's no difference between the 2 groups. For the incongruent trial, the people who wore the lab coat performed better at the task. The one who was wearing the lab coat performed better. So Adam and Ganiski went further into this initial result, saying, is it because of the perception of what the people can wear the lab coat? So this is a second test, asking participants, they recruited 94 participants, and the task changed. They asked the participant to notify as fast as possible the differences between sets of pictures. And they split the 94 participants in 3 groups. First group was wearing a lab coat that was supposed to belong to a medical doctor. The second group didn't wear a lab coat, but did the test seated next to the lab coat, was supposed to belong to a medical doctor, and they were required to identify with this lab coat. And the third group wore the coat that was supposed to belong to an artistic painter. The people who wore the medical lab coat, the medical doctor lab coat, found more differences than the people who wore the artistic painter lab coat. Most intriguingly, the people who didn't wear the lab coat but identified with the medical doctor lab coat performed better than the third group. So, are we performing better wearing makeup and wearing satin clothes? Yes. Why? We're still not sure why. Are we happier covering our skin with a second skin? We're not sure if it is the case, if it's not the case. So as you can imagine, as I kept saying, there's a lot of work that needs to be done. We need a lot of people to do some research. So this research will keep us, the Psychology of Fashion department, busy for quite some time. Thank you very much for your attention.